I had read a lot of Thompson. I was aware of him, and I was aware of him as, I think, the most nihilistic writer ever produced in America.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Book Graveyard Vintage Genre Fiction channel here on YouTube. We're also out there in the podcast world. This will be a podcast episode also, so if you're listening there, thank you very much. I have a review. I'm going to talk about a book today that is by an author that I probably should have read a long time ago, but for some reason I kept putting it off. Maybe because, you know, when someone talks so highly about an author, it makes me very hesitant to read it, because the expectations are very high. So I have to say it's well-deserved praise out there for this man, Jim Thompson, a classic crime hard-boiled writer. And the book that I am talking about today is Savage Night. How about no glare there? Savage Night by Jim Thompson. This was originally published by Lion Books in 1953. And this is the Black Lizard reprint. And I believe it is from 83, 80, I don't know. There's a lot of numbers here, and none of them are the publication. Copyright renewed in 81, introduction copyright 1984. And then afterward, copyright 1985. We're going to go ahead and say 1985 here on this Black Lizard. Savage Night. I do love those covers. I thought Black Lizard did a good job of coming up with new artwork. Not exactly the same as the golden era of crime fiction, but still very appealing. So I want to do a quick little bio here about Jim Thompson. There's already lots of stuff out there about him. There's been books about him, lots of articles online, which I will put down in the description, all of the articles online that I got. And then at the end of the bio, I'll tell you about the books, which I have not read. I just wanted to state that they're out there if you're looking for more information. So Jim Thompson was born James Meyer Thompson in Oklahoma in 1906. As soon as I saw that, I was like, wait, hold on a second. Oklahoma, 1906? That puts him very close in age and location to Woody Guthrie, one of my favorite human beings of all time. So I stopped everything I was doing and Googled, did Jim Thompson ever meet Woody Guthrie? And I was very surprised to see it come back as a positive. And not only that Woody Guthrie had a major hand in Jim Thompson's writing career. But more on that later. Let's start at the beginning here. And this is just as dark and romantic as you would expect it to be. So Jim Thompson was born in an apartment above the Caddo County Jail in 1906. I don't know if it's Caddo or Caddo, Oklahoma. His father, Big Jim Thompson, was a former teacher who became the sheriff of the county, which unfortunately did not last long as he was accused of embezzlement and then took off for the border, went down to Mexico to hide out for a couple years, leaving his family alone. But don't worry, he's not a deadbeat dad. He catches up with them in 1910 in Oklahoma City, then he moves the whole tribe down to Fort Worth, Texas. Here in Fort Worth, Texas, at the age of 19, little Jim Thompson would sometimes work the oil rigs with his father. He was also a bellboy at the famous Hotel Texas, where he would do shady side hustles. He would procure prostitutes for the patrons of the Hotel Texas. He would get them drugs, cocaine, heroin. And he would get them alcohol because this is during Prohibition. Unfortunately, Jim broke the cardinal rule of being a dealer. He got high on his own supply, and he would become a raging alcoholic by the time he was 19 years old. And from here, he hits the rails as a hobo, a vagrant rail rider. You were probably hoping that this is where he met Woody. That's what I was hoping. Woody did lots of train hopping in his day, but no, unfortunately, not yet. At the age of 23, little Jim Thompson is enrolled at the University of Nebraska in 1929, but then due to the Great Depression, he drops out in 1931. In 1935, he sells his very first short story, titled The Strange Death of Eugene Kling, to True Detective magazine for the November issue. Also around this time is where he joins the Communist Party. He's a card-carrying member of the Communist Party. This is how he meets Woody Guthrie. They had a similar comrade who went by the name of Bill Cunningham. No, not that Bill Cunningham, not our Bill Cunningham of Pulp 2.0, Mid's Adventure Quarterly fame. No, this Bill Cunningham was a Marxist economics professor and fellow true crime writer. Jim Thompson became the director of the Oklahoma Federal Writers Project, alongside Western author, not yet Western author, just pulp fiction writer Louis L'Amour. But due to Thompson's communist affiliation, he is let go from the position. In 1940, he moves his family to San Diego, California, where he scrapes plaster for an airplane manufacturer. And once again, he's investigated for his communist ties. In 1941, Thompson travels to New York City and meets up again with our man, Woody Guthrie.
John Henry, when he was a baby, sitting down on his mammy's knee, picked up a hammer in his little right hand. That's gonna be death of me. Hammer be the death of me.
He tells the Woodster that he's been working on a novel, tells him all about the novel, his hard-living, semi-autobiographical novel, and Woody's very intrigued. So he takes the novel and he shows it around all the friends, all their leftist friends, and it would eventually end up in the hands of the founder of Modern Age Books, who in March 1942 will publish Thompson's debut novel, Now and on Earth. So essentially, not that Jim Thompson wouldn't have made it on his own, which I'm sure he would have, but Woody was his foot in the door. So it's kind of wild to think that the world might not have Jim Thompson if not for Woody Guthrie. Now and on Earth, his first novel, published in 1942, was a semi-autobiographical novel about Thompson's time during World War II when he worked at that airplane manufacturer. It must have been very salty. It's about alcoholism, family dynamic, and the plights of the American worker. His next novel, Heed the Thunder, from 1946, is similar in that it would be described as general fiction, or, to my viewers, the dreaded literature descriptor, the kind of books that say a novel on the cover. I don't know about you, but that is an instant turn off for me. Thankfully, for us genre fiction fans, here is where he starts writing the good old stuff, the gritty crime novels that he would be known and celebrated for. And his next book is Nothing More Than Murder in 1949. And that is where I'm going to leave it for this bio. Kind of short. Actually, it wasn't short at all, was it? There's a few books out there about him. There is Savage Art, a biography of Jim Thompson from 1995 by Robert Polito. There is Jim Thompson, Sleep with the Devil from 1991 by Michael J. McCauley. And there's also Difficult Lives from 1993 by James Salas. What's interesting about this is it was originally released on Gryphon Books, who is owned by our YouTube comrade, Gary Levisi. Is Gary a comrade? I mean, yeah, he's our buddy. He's not a comrade. He's our buddy, Gary Levisi. And the book also contains biographies on David Goodis and Chester Himes. Sounds amazing. I got to get a hold of this thing. It looks like it was re-released in 2025 by Penguin Random House. All right, so that was pretty long. Did you guys enjoy that? Some interesting tidbits about Mr. Thompson that I didn't know. That Woody Guthrie thing, wow, that really made my day. So how about we get on to the review of Savage Night. So our protagonist is Carl Bigelow. He's just gotten off the bus at Purdale, a small town 95 miles from New York City. The story is told in a first-person narrative, So we get all of Carl's inner monologue and what's on his mind? The man. The man, capital T, capital M, has hired Carl for a job. It appears that Carl is a hitman, and he is in Purdale to knock off Jake Winroy. Winroy was involved with some corrupt members of the government and some nefarious mobsters, and he has been running his mouth. So he needs to be taken care of. Carl's job, Carl, our hitman, is to arrive in Purdale, go undercover as a student at the local college. He's to rent a room at the Winroy's house, who has recently opened it up for boarding. The murder needs to look like an accident. It can't come back to the mobsters, to the politicians. So Carl is to gain everyone's trust, wait months before making the murder occur, and then keep on living his life in Purdale after the accident. This novel is so much more than it seems on the surface. When I first started reading it, it really reminded me of the Ori Hitt book, The Widow, that we just read on the Elusive Exclusive Book Society live chat I do with my friends. We talked about The Widow by Ori Hitt, and I thought that it was very similar. When I first started reading it, I was like, man, this is almost like tit for tat The Widow here, just in the way that it was very sleazy. The characters are just covered in this like moral grime, like no one is really a clear-cut good bad person, very gray morality. And then I finished it, closed the cover, mouth agape like a bad booktube thumbnail. And let me just say, this book is a mind fuck. Every time I hear someone talk about Jim Thompson, they say he is bleak, depressing, depraved, nihilistic, and that's what I was ready for going in. Yeah, that's in here. But honestly, it wasn't any different than other books that I've read from this genre in that sense, in the nihilism and the bleakness. What really stood out about this book, what makes Jim Thompson so revered, I think. This is only my first Jim Thompson, so I don't know. Maybe the others aren't like this, but there was an oddness to this book. Whenever I thought I understood the main character's personality, it would change. The reality in the story, the reality that the main character is living in, the world he's living in, is surreal, but it's not dreamlike or trippy. It's not way out there. It's just like a little off, just a little out of step. Example, Carl, our main character, is 5 feet tall. 5 feet, not 5 feet 2, 5 feet. For perspective, that's only 2 inches taller than Danny DeVito. But he's described in a way as looking like that Malcolm in the Middle kid. Like he's got a very young face, and people are always mistaking him as a teenager. And like I said, it's first person narrative, so it's all from Carl's perspective. He's always telling us how the ladies are going for him, how he bags many ladies. He starts off on the bus on the way to Purdale, thinking about how he nailed these 3 ladies last week. And you know what? No offense to shorter stature guys. I'm sure you can get it in. No insult. But 5 feet tall? Like, I just don't see the ladies going crazy. I just don't see the ladies going crazy. That's all I'm saying. His demeanor is very cold and hard, but then he panics at the slightest step back. He is frightened often. It can be very mean and intimidating. There's a scene where this older couple invites him over for dinner. Just some people he met, just an older couple he met out in public. They invite him over for dinner, and then the woman is telling him that she wishes that he was their son. Like, she wishes that they had a child and it was him, right? And this is a grown man. This is not a teenager, even though he looks like a teenager. This is like a 30-year-old. And he starts crying and daydreams that they are indeed his parents. So, not the kind of response you would imagine in a cold-blooded hitman, serial killer, basically. But he is human, he is human. Maybe he was neglected as a child and wish he had great parents, and here's this old couple and he's dreaming of the life that he could have possibly had but it just doesn't line up with all the things that have happened before that incident. There is aspects of the weird in this story. There is a woman who works at the Winroy's house, and she's missing half of her leg. She's missing the bottom half of her leg, and at the end of the missing leg is a little baby foot, which, you know, no big deal, Nick. What the hell are you talking about? People are born with deformities. It's okay. She has the little foot on the end of her leg. But what makes it weird is where Thompson takes it, which reminds me of this book here, The King in Yellow. So if you've read The King in Yellow, the very first story with the little man, there's a part in this book that is somewhat similar to that has to do with the woman with the half of the leg. So those are just a few examples, but the book is littered with them. It's almost weird fiction. Almost. It's still a crime book. I don't want to get the weird people all excited. Chris, settle down. Like, it's still 99% a classic crime book, but it has just a little flavoring of weird going into it. So it's impossible really to go in depth like I usually do without spoiling this book, so I'm just not going to. There's some other interesting aspects that wouldn't spoil it, such as, if you remember from the bio, Jim Thompson wrote fiction for the True Detective magazines. There's an incident where Carl is looking at a True Detective magazine, and there's an article about him in it, how he's this mysterious hitman. No one knows who he is. He's still out there, which is funny to see it read from his perspective. There's lots of paranoia. There's lots of paranoia on who can Carl trust. Like, there's another person who's renting a room at the Winroy's. I think his name's Kendall. He works at the bakery across the street. And Carl is constantly questioning whether Kendall works for the man or he's just some regular guy. So that creates a lot of tension and unease in the narrative. And Carl is already like at paranoia level 9, and the man is always in his mind. He always thinks that the man is going to double cross him, that he's going to think that Carl isn't doing a good job or take him out, or Carl's going to kill the Winroy guy, and then the man's going to take him out. And the man has the info on who Carl is, and he's threatening him. So he's like, I'm going to release it to the press, release it to the world that you are this infamous hitman that they're writing about in these True Detective magazines. Carl sleeps with all of the women in the story. Spoiler alert. I mean, that's status quo for these kind of books, so I don't think that's much of a surprise. And then he interacts with his small town people, and everything is just strange. It's just strange interactions. His reactions to what they say and what they do are very childlike at times and ruthless at others. And it sounds like I'm making this out to be random and all over the place, but it's not. It is so engaging. You're like, what in the hell is going on in this story? And it is incredible. It's an incredible story. I'm so glad that I finally read Jim Thompson. I shouldn't have put it off. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't be like, oh, there's a big name, I'm not reading it. It's snobby, and I'm just robbing myself of this stuff. So yes, Savage Night by Jim Thompson. Go check out those links. There's lots of articles about him. It's very interesting. I'm very excited to read more by him. And that's it. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. We're out of here.